And in fact, I must say all the 5 speakers really stuck to the time limit. So my task was made very easy. Now, I do not know exactly how much time we have, but we go for the question and answer session. So please, it was very thought-provoking, very valuable 5 presentations we heard, and there should be some worthwhile questions. So, questions, suggestions, ideas? Yeah. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
I have 2 questions, one is for Brigadier Gunasekar and for General Hettiarachchi, sir. Brigadier Gunasekar, you've been talking about the development of leadership skills and positive leadership for the youth in this country, and then you brought about the dropouts of the university entrance. There you categorize them as the radicalized group very rightly, which have been instigated by certain political extremist groups in order to destabilization of the unrest to occur in the systems, which I think because of the radicalized culture that have been developed in the university system of the tertiary education. And also you brought about, which is directly affect for the security concern of the country, and also which you have brought about very clearly some measures to counter identification of groups, the way of keeping their parents informed, etc., etc. I think that is the physical measures that I've been talking about. I think my view, and you may comment, is the ideology that is being developed in the system, which is being instigated by certain extremist groups, which I think we have to address that to kill that ideology, like that we have been taught is to destroy a tank, you need another tank, like an ideology to kill that ideology, we need another ideology. So how to develop that? That is my question. And sir, General Hettiarachchi, sir, that you will talk about the criteria for the promotion system or the scheme in the army. What my personal view is for the selection criteria for the induction of the army officer cadre is very low profile, which that we cannot find very good potential officers from the reputed the schools are entering into the Army, Navy, Air Force very hardly, which I think if we find or to select or evolve good criteria for the selection, I think so that will have a long perspective. Thank you.
Thank you for the very important question. In my presentation, as you said, I said we have to identify the radical elements, which is a physical measure. But coming on to the other aspect that you were talking about, I also spoke about counseling, where you address the minds of these radical elements. That has to be progressively done. And in the on the other hand, the concept of emotional intelligence could be applied. But all these things need the assistance of university academics. So they are the people who are looking after these children. And on the other hand, parents. This aspect is not possible all alone. It is we do not have a system where we give them proper training on emotional intelligence, and also we have systems of counseling, but it is not very effective. So these 2 aspects can be considered. I of course spoke about practical elements, but all the dropouts which I spoke at O levels and A levels are not belonging to that category. Thank you, Brigadier Jayasekaran.
Sir?
I've been addressed because I was simply focusing on the promotion of officers. Revealing my other part on the book teaching I said about the career development with sampling interest. Thank you.
Sir?
I am given opportunity actually Department of Management and Finance, Economic Facility. I appreciate all the presentations, but I could understand only 3 presentations. Those others were highly technical. Therefore, I can ask 3 questions from the 3 presenters, Brigadier Masegara and our Staff Officer. Sorry. One name and General India. First, my question is aimed at Brigadier Masegara. Now, the particular research topic is associated with the leadership skills and the negative attitudes of the students, undergraduates basically. However, I understood that there is a problem in research. Now, for reasoning that particular negative attitudes and the leadership skills, that particular research has used the instrument that is developed for measuring the effectiveness of the training program. That particular training program is given to the students, and out of that particular students, 10,000 elements have been drawn. Based on that particular instrument, how can a researcher measure the attitudes and the leadership? That is the first question. The instrument developed for measuring the effectiveness of a particular training program. How can we use for measuring the attitudes and the leadership? That is my first concern. And the second one is for the Air Force officer. So very interesting and highly appreciated. However, at the end of your presentation, so if there is any present proposition, or if there is any hypothesis that can be tested by your junior officers or your further, particularly younger generation, I think it will be better. If two or more propositions should be developed at the end of your presentation, then others can encourage, or your university can do the research to test the proposition that is a descriptive, theoretical descriptive one. However, proposition should have been developed. So that is my comments and assumption. And for the Major General Tiaraki, he has discussed he has proposed a new performance evaluation system or promotion system. Our earlier Army has used one promotion system based on seniority, and recently the Army has used the promotion system based on performance. If we are developing a new promotion system, then we have to use evidence for the ineffectiveness of the earlier one. What are the ineffective? What are the evidences for the ineffectiveness of the first promotion system and the second promotion? That is the question. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. In the same order.
Professor, thank you very much for very informative question and on the challenging on the aspects which I spoke. The first question, you said with this measurement you can't judge the measurement of the leadership and positive development. Well, this has been very well acknowledged by the Minister of Higher Education. That is why they introduced leadership course for potential undergraduates, for those who are entering the university, for 3 weeks at least, as a measurement of improving their as a element where they can develop their leadership skills, which we all, Vice Chancellor, all of us were involved in designing that leadership course, and it is acknowledged by the highest level of policy making. That is first one. Secondly, I have not spoken about the methodology of impact, how I measured, which entail at least 100,000 data entries where we did statistical calculations. Based on that, the measurement came into being. So it is a detailed description which I can explain but I don't think I have all the details with me to explain right now, but methodology has been adapted to measure for certain the measurement that you raised. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving a suggestion of proposition. In my study, my proposition is that we don't do anything right now. That we are going into a dark area where we are going to lose all the expertism and the hardware that we have acquired already. My hypothesis for my research is that in the post-conflict era, if we don't do proper study and go into a very efficient and effective way of applying air power in Sri Lanka, that the future of Air Force is going to be in a dark area. And the null hypothesis comes the other way around. At the end of my talk today, I give 2 areas for further studies because in my research, what I'm going to do is to get a conceptual understanding of where we are standing and where we are heading, and give the reader or the decision makers to focus on their attention to probably give more emphasis on the expenditure, training, and procurement area, where analyzing the future threats for Sri Lanka. And the further studies are developed on exactly how to do it, what exact aircraft to be purchased, and how many squadrons to be newly acquired or to keep in the Air Force, and what is the strength is for the further studies for the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for your question. Basically, this first concept we had, I think, more than 40 years or more, till about 2008, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there are a lot of cases where, I mean, it was, we, as I said, we suffered, the country suffered greatly. We need a military that is highly effective and competent, but we need professional leaders who are highly competent, knowledgeable, capable, dedicated, committed. You see, to get that, we have to push up the correct people. Without that, we can't. And as I said, we have nearly 20,000 of our best officers and soldiers dying in the war. A massive amount sacrificed, massive amount in battle. And what about the civilians who have died? And what about the economy? All our development, all our funneling to the battle. And definitely, I mean, this system that will change, but nevertheless, we have to have a very effective system where we push up the capable, dedicated, highly professional people who are very balanced also, not only in military, balanced views, who are not extreme elements, who are knowledgeable, educated. We need highly educated people. I've been telling long time, educated. Encourage officers to get their PhDs, degrees. It's not only refined to the military or in one angle. Because we are working for the people of the country. We are safeguarding the nation. So we have to have a very good system. Professor, very, very important. We have, you ask your commandant or anybody or vice chancellor. There are senior officers, nowhere, if your military is strong enough, you can safeguard your, we do not have conventional activity from insurrections, subversions, revolutions, uprisings, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question, please. Dr. Rohan Gunaratne. Okay, so we have 2 more, right? Officer Cadet, please go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Julius Gata, President Soisa from Intake Ready. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Julius Soisa from Intake Ready. My question goes to Officer Cadet EWK Chandranathan sir. So it's regarding the infrared radar system you have developed. In my point of view, it's totally justifiable for it to have a short distance range, since it's mainly focused on training purposes. But may I please know about the frequency you have used in IR emitter?
We have used in this infrared sensor, we have wavelength of 850 nanometers. So the frequency slightly it is 380 terahertz in range. So by concerning only the training purposes, we have used this kind of sensor. If we want to increase the range of the radar, so we have to use a powerful sensor, because in this sensor we have peak power of 250 milliwatt. So in order to increase the range, we have to increase the power of the sensor.
Dr. Raman Golda. The Sri Lankan university system did not do the research required for the security forces during the fight. Sri Lankan universities were very distant. They distanced themselves away from ground reality. So in that sense, I am very pleased that KDU is doing that required research. Of course, you didn't have the luxury of time, luxury of resources to do that crucial military research during that period. But now I see that even the Sri Lanka Navy under Admiral Kolobage has created a research, dedicated research wing. I want to say that internationally, many of the top universities around the world engaged in defense research. For example, if you take Johns Hopkins University, they developed the proximity fuse. They invented the GPS capability. Did some of the pioneering research for the Mars rover. So did Harvard, so did MIT, so did many of the top universities. So I once again congratulate KDU for moving in this direction. If the chair permits me, I'd like to take a minute more time to say that the LTT, although it was a very small group, it had its own research office that was led by a man called Vedi Dinesh Master. He was the brightest of the LTT scientists and from the Jaffna University. And in fact, at one point, the Sri Lanka Air Force targeted him. And Prabhakaran received news that Vedi Dinesh has been injured. Prabhakaran's only question was, has anything happened to his brain? Because he was considered the extraordinary bright man. And under Vedi Dinesh, they had another dedicated team called the Masters team. These were again the bright people in the LTT that took that knowledge from the research, the military research office of the LTT, and went and trained their fighters, their technologists. And in parallel, the LTT also created another capability led by a man called Elil Vannan that brought people from overseas that enhanced their, say, software writing programs, various capabilities in IED innovation. So I think that the research that you are doing at this point, from the two presentations that I reviewed, I thought that it also has major civilian application. So it's basically a dual technology research. You will do this research for military purpose, but again, you can apply it in the civilian domain. So once again, congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Raman. So all good things have to come to an end, and let me now summarize the afternoon's proceedings. And we had great 5 presentations and very thought-provoking, very interesting. And we had Air Commodore Sudarshana talking about the challenges for Sri Lanka Air Force. He started with the history, and I think it's very important for us to learn about the history, because we know the famous saying, history repeats itself. And if we have not learned from the past, when another situation comes, we have to start all over again. And he also spoke about their strategy and evolvement of the Sri Lanka Air Force through the 3 decades of war. And he touched upon various roles of the Air Force, including the maritime security. When you hear the word maritime security, people may think it is the Navy's business. But in today's context, many of the roles hitherto performed by the Navy now can be performed by the Air Force. And he also mentioned about the future challenges, the need. He gave 2 suggestions to design on the type of aircraft and the future role of the Air Force, including the force planning. So thank you, Sudarshana, for a great presentation. And then we moved on with Brigadier Lal Gunasekara. He touched a nerve by addressing a very sensitive but a very important issue in the today's society. I do not know whether our education system right now knows where they are going. But we heard a lot that there is a parliamentary select committee appointed to study our education system. And I was told we teach about 1,150 subjects in our schools. And in some subjects, only one student for the whole country. So you can understand the scale of things to come. So he spoke about the education system, and he clearly mentioned that the education is the key to the future. And he also explained the hurdles, the bottlenecks, right? And this morning, an officer told me there may be bottlenecks, but please look at where the neck is. It is on the top, right? So bottlenecks, it's very easy to say the bottlenecks, but then it is up to us because we are the top. And I was very impressed the way he linked the education system to the security concerns or to the radicalization of the youth. And I think that is our future. We need the peace and stability, much hard earned by a lot of sacrifices for economic and social progress of our country. So unless we address the security concerns in everything we do, we will pay for it again. And so he came up with some recommendations to improve the quality of education. And then we move on to Captain Uday Dampage. He came up with a very nice model, a 3D model, to minimize the radar cross-section. Now, being the head of the Department of Electronics and Electrical in the KDU, you are well suited to study on that topic. And no one has really paid much attention to the post-conflict scenario in our Navy. Whatever the lessons we have learned, how can we apply those lessons to reduce the future threats, or reduce the future threats or reduce the future vulnerabilities. So I was very impressed. So please send that proposal with the permission of the KDU Vice Chancellor to the Navy as well. We can and we will certainly look at it. And then we had the young officer cadet Chandraratna talking about the infrared radar system, another very impressive ideas, because in our system we use very expensive equipment for training. And once we use those equipment for training, their lifespan will not be that much. So we don't have the luxury of using real equipment for training. We need simulators, we need modules which can be used for training at very basic level. So that was a very impressive presentation. And then General Hettiarachchi, being the normal character of him, touched another very important nerve, the officers' promotion system in the military. Although he mentioned it, the Sri Lanka army oriented, I couldn't agree with him more because it is applicable to other services as well. We did have a promotion system based merely on merit. And if you really look at this merit, it was determined maybe the first 2 or 3 years of your career. Can a person carry that through to the end? And it was astonishing to hear him trying to link this lacuna in the leadership or the selection process to the number of people sacrificed for the country, 30,000 soldiers. So that actually can be another study, whether there was a problem in our leadership which actually resulted in such a great loss as my professor suggested. What is the proposition for the next stage? So thank you, sir. It was a great thing. And also he came out with 11 criteria for selection of the best officer to be going through the ladder. And also he spoke about the letters of commendation from the President and the Army Commander. So this can be applied, food for thought. I don't say that the same thing can be applied to other services, but food for thought. We need a system where we give due recognition for seniority, but at the same time, we give due weightage for the merit and the attitude of the officers. And also, there were some excellent questions coming from the audience, and because of the time we had to restrain ourselves, otherwise there would have been many more questions. So it was a very participating, interactive audience, and being the KDU, we have a very disciplined audience. That's another important aspect. So overall, I think an afternoon very well spent, very thought-provoking, very creative. So I must thank all the presenters, because they were given very wide topics, but they did justice within the stipulated time. They came out with the best, and they left the podium keeping something in our minds to think. I think that is the most important thing. And also to the audience, so welcome, well done everyone all around, and please give another round of applause to the 5 speakers. Thank you.